Good afternoon and welcome to Pawsitive Partners. My name is Mike Thompson here with Tom Heiskell.
Hi.
And today should be a really interesting show. I had someone contact me about this and I thought this is a really good subject because I don't have any clue about it. How do you train a dog that has a deficit in the sensory area? Mm-hmm. Their dog is deaf.
And that's particularly what we'll talk about today, but
and
you can
blind,
kind of apply it.
But you know, the dogs I've had that have been blind because of old age, and so they kind of know what to expect. Mm-hmm. So you know, they know their surroundings. They know when I say sit or come or whatever. Then all you got to do is just keep saying it. You know, if you want them to come back to you, mm-hmm. just keep making noise, and they'll come towards the noise.
They have that experience to work
right.
off.
So
yeah.
In that way, age-related deficits are maybe a little easier.
Could be, yeah. So with deafness in dogs, dogs can become can be deaf from birth, and Dalmatians are one of the breeds that have a greater chance of congenital or being born with deafness. Dogs that have white coats, it's associated with a recessive gene for deafness. Now, if dogs are deaf from birth, they can be deaf in one ear, you know, or both, or the other ear, or both ears. So more dogs are born deaf in one ear as opposed to both ears. So that's a wrinkle. And obviously, if you wonder if your dog is deaf, you know, what you want to do is you make some noise behind them and see if they respond.
I think the foolproof method of testing for deafness is have them in the other room and get a bag of chips or something.
Right.
They come running. Yeah. You're not deaf.
Pretty good idea. Right. So if you're testing for that, you don't want them to see motion. So if you do this, they're going to see motion outside their eyes, and you don't want them to feel vibration that would tell them. Okay. So dogs can also become deaf due to illness or some medications as a side effect can cause deafness. So if your dog has been hearing and they start having problems with their hearing, obviously you're going to get them medically checked out. And then like all of us with age, sensory deficits like blindness or deafness can occur. Decreased sense of smell, but that's not. In people, that's one of the things that occurs too. Yeah, it's an indication of Alzheimer's as well. One of the early warning signals. So
I wonder if some of these tips could go well for spouses.
I try.
He's not listening to me.
I try not to apply any of this to spouses. Right. Yeah. Right.
The selective hearing.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Both sides would talk about that.
Right.
So anyway. What to bear in mind is deaf dogs learn like any other dogs. No change in their learning process. It's just the sensory mechanism that we use to get through is what's different. And when you think about it, dogs, if you think about your verbal signals and you think about the gestures or postures that you make, dogs are actually a whole lot more attuned to our gestures and to our postures than they are to our speech. So if you say come and give the signal for sit, you know, a hand signal for sit, your dog is probably going to sit.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing as far as having age-related illnesses like that. Train them with a signal and the speech at the same time. So if one of those leaves, you still have the other one.
You have both. And I'll show you the kind of signals to use, and they go back to how you train a puppy or the dog that you just get on about how to sit and stand and stay and all that sort of stuff. You want to teach with hearing dogs. You can say yes or say something to tell them they succeeded. And with deaf dogs, you want to use something like a visual signal. So for them, if you're holding a, okay, well, this is good here. Right now, what you're seeing are some resources. And I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you. The first is a book by someone who was in the same animal training program that I was in, the Karen Pryor Academy. A Deaf Dog Joins the Family. That's available on Amazon. The second is, I just looked this up on the internet, the Labrador site about deafness. They had a very good discussion. The next one down is lsu.edu, deafness, and that gives hand commands that, that way you can kind of go off what they have there, and you don't have to think them all up yourself. And the last one is a link for a veterinary discussion of deafness in dogs and cats.
I don't know if it's a big problem with cats. They don't listen to me anyway.
Right. Well, yeah. I get along well with cats, but anyhow, but they're their own. Yeah, they're another species,
right.
For sure. So a success signal for a dog is like if you're holding a treat in your hand, you want to deliver a treat, and you want to give a success signal. You do, flash your fingers like that.
Like you're going to give it away to them.
No, well, it's just your fingers are flashed there, and they can see that. And then if you have to make treat delivery easy, then you've got your treat in your finger, and you can do that. If you don't have the treat in your hand, that's okay. You just flash yes, and then you go to your treat bag or wherever you've got it, the bowl, and then get it and then deliver. So that's a way of signaling yes. You can also use other success signals. You can use a light, or you can use a tactile signal, touching the dog on some specific area of their body as a signal for yes, you succeeded.
I think that's an easy one. Just rub them, they know celebration rubs and all that.
But that's instead of, oh, you're such a good dog, and all that sort of stuff. This success signal would be a very specific place that you touch very, very briefly, rather than, ooh, we're having a party. Mm-hmm. This success signal is always followed by a reward.
Okay.
And so that means whatever you...
Like we do the clicker.
Instead of, or saying yes or good boy or click or something like that.
Right.
That's the way we get through there.
Okay.
What the other screen?
Okay. Yeah, that's good. These are the areas we're covering. Deaf dogs learn like any other dogs. We have the success signal. Before you even, you don't even have to be doing any specific kind of training. Just take some of the dog's food or some goodies, put it in some place like a treat bag or some place that's handy to get, and every time you see your dog, or when it occurs to you, you see your dog doing something that you want them to repeat the next time in their situation, give them their success signal, go get that treat, deliver that to them. If they like to play tug, success signal, all right, let's play tug or let's play ball or something like that. And that way, when you do that, like, throughout your day, like the goal is 50 times a day, which is really not as much as you think.
Right.
If you're interacting, with your
and
dog.
Keep your treats small so you don't have a fat dog.
Yeah, keep them small. Use your dog's food.
Yeah.
If you make it exciting, hey, we got your food, and you hold about a third of that back, for training throughout the day, then you've automatically regulated the calories they're getting. So do that, and then you're teaching your dog with what you want your dog to do from behavior they're offering, and you're connecting them feeling like they have some control over their environment, and they know what's working and all that sort of stuff. And on that list there, next one down, thank you for going back to that. With a deaf dog, you want to teach them to do a lot of visual checking in. So when they give you eye contact, then you'll give your signal, your flash your yes signal, and you'll reward that. So at the beginning, you want to be doing a whole lot of rewarding them visually checking in.
That just raises your value. It's like, hey, you're the treat guy. I want to pay attention to this guy.
Right. And it gives you your way of communicating with them, because if they're looking away from you, then you'd have to use some other sensory way to get, to tell them. Now, what you can do is, if you need their attention, you can bang on something, and that would, they're going to feel that vibration. So that's another way. Or there are vibrating collars, it's just a vibration that alerts them, hey,
And they vibrate at
it's like the
different
doorbell,
levels. I've got one for my dog, and anymore all you gotta do is hit the beep, and okay, he's on alert. But it goes from like 0 to 100 as far as
that almost sounds like a shock collar.
It is.
Okay,
you can do light.
This is one. Anyway, the purpose
you can
of
do
this
light,
would just
vibration, and then shock.
Okay, well,
this is just a little vibration.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just talking about vibration. I don't want someone, throwing a shock collar on their deaf dog and going like, okay, we got 0 here, and let's see what happens with 10 or 20 or 50. Just use a vibration collar without the electrical shock associated with it.
You might get the buttons mixed up and accidentally do it.
The equipment can fail, and if it fails, then you've got a freaked out, scared dog. Okay. Another thing you want to do is you want to desensitize the dog to situations that might startle them. So you want to desensitize them to being people coming up behind them. So you want to do that in a gentle, gradual way, and then increase how intense that is, so the dog finds out that if someone comes up behind them and puts their hand on them, they're not going to be eaten. They're not, they're not going to get panicky. Someone grabs their collar. They're used to all those kinds of things that might startle them. Also, you want to awaken them in a very, use a certain way of awakening them, so when they know when their certain part of their body's being touched and you're shaking them or something like that, that's going to register in their minds that they're being awakened. Okay, let's take a little break for the moment, and then we'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and Mike, I'm really glad you brought this topic up, because when you did, I thought, wow, this is better than anything I had in my mind, which what I had in my mind was actually nothing.
And today we're talking about deaf dogs, how to train them, and how to live with them, and how to make their life good.
And another way of communicating, some dogs are able to hear a very high pitch. So it could be that one of those ultrasonic dog whistles, the dog might have hearing that's preserved in that very, very high range.
Now we're different than that. We lose that first.
Yeah, we lose that. Yeah. So, but dogs' hearing range goes up. We stop at about 20,000 kilohertz, and they go up to 40,000 or something really high. So they've got a bigger range than we do. Other thing you want to do is how do you get them to move, and that you teach them targeting is the easy way to do that, and I'll give you a quick way to do that. Another thing you want to do is when your dog's there at your house, you want to let them know where you're going, because they're not hearing you, and if they don't see where you went, if the dog temperamentally is more high-strung or anxious, or just if they're concerned about where you went and they don't know.
Clingy or something.
So, when you're going out of the room, just, stop by and kind of make a little gesture.
Like,
hey,
come on, let's go.
Or they don't have to even go with you, just point, that you're heading over that way. And so they'll learn, they'll have a heads up. Okay, so how do you have them target? It's just like with any other dog. If you want them to target your hand, you put your hand there, and out of curiosity, of course, they're going to touch their nose and investigate. And then you signal them yes, and then reward them. So then you have them target over here, to the dog's left, to the dog's right, up, down, have them come forward and target. And then what that can be is that turns into a signal for come. So if you're over here and you go like that, and the dog has checked you already have eye contact with the dog, then the dog comes up to you, and then yes, and then you deliver the treat. Mm-hmm. So that becomes your come signal. You can also use that or luring to get a dog to sit. So if you have a treat, which I always have with me, and you present those to your dog's, well, okay, we'll just do it this way. Present those to your dog's nose and have your dog stretch their neck out a little bit, and then bring that up. Then, like that, then you would, they would sit, and then you would yes, and then deliver the treat. So you get a sit that way, and from the easiest way to get it down is from a sit. There are other ways to get it, but once you have a dog sitting here, and then you bring the treat down toward the ground, then the dog folds down, yes, deliver the treat. If they're down and you want them to stand, you present it this way and then bring it out. They stood, then deliver the treat.
Don't forget some hand signals along with that.
Right, and so what that turns into, when you want your dog to, what that turns into as a hand signal is sit, that's down, this is stand. So, or if you want them to heel with you, then you hold your hand to the side there and give them a target. So if you have your hand at your side, then the dog is more or less targeting there, or you pat your left leg if the dog's heeling at your left side, and then the dog goes along with you. So you're really, most dogs learn by learning our gestures, and they make the secondary associations to the words. So we're training our dogs by using gestures without really knowing it.
No, the one thing that would frighten me if I had a deaf dog is if he chases another dog or a cat or a deer, and trying to get them to recall, come back to me, because their sight is on their target. Right. And that ain't me.
Yeah, and once a dog's locked in, I mean, that's a big training challenge to call a dog back from a deer or a cat or a squirrel or something like that.
Usually I just say hey to my guys and they stop right now.
Yeah, and you've built that up over a period of time. With a dog that's deaf, unless they really have unless you've done a lot of training in that area, the safe way to do that is just put them on a long line. If you want to give them freedom, put them on a 20, 30, 40, 50-foot line. Let them go out to the end of that line, and when they hit the end of that line, they'll get used to, hey, that's my boundary, right. And then when they check in with you, they've hit the end of that line, then they check in, they're way out here, they're at the end of that, they have hit that line, they turn around, and then yes, and then come, and then reward, so that you get them used to a certain boundary, but have a long line on them just for your peace of mind and for their safety. So let's see here.
There's traffic and other things that
sure.
can be. So just try and keep them out of those situations.
Right. And if you do have a long line, don't have any handle on that, because a handle can get snagged on a branch. Mm-hmm. And then if they're on a long line also, you want to have them in a harness, because even if they're on a line with no handle on it, if that happens to get caught in the V of something and the line is attached to a collar, if you've got a dog that's traveling at, really moving out
40 miles an hour.
Yeah, they hit that, then they're going to have a neck injury.
Right.
And potentially worse. So, let's see here. Okay, there are on the signals for deaf dogs, the second one down from LSU, www.lsu.edu/deafness, and then there would be, right. That gives a whole bunch of really useful hand signals. And some of those can look like, I mean, some of them are kind of nice, like, you know, okay, we're going for a drive. And if you can come back to me, you know, like, okay, we're going in the car. Let's see here. Going to play with the ball. You know, let's see here. Let's see the door.
Some of mine would be, even with the dogs that I have now, it's just picking up a leash. Hey, we're going for a walk.
Yeah, sure.
Get the key to the house. Ding,
right.
ding. You know,
yeah, sure.
It's time to go.
Yeah, and the signals that we use for moving our dogs around are luring or targeting, you know, that sort of thing, and them learning activities or the names of things just by association. Mm-hmm. So if you do your keys like that, then they know, okay, that connects to go in the car. Yeah. If you do like, you know, this for open, or you do like that for opening, we're going out the door, you know, if you get the leash, you know, whatever gesture you happen to make, as long as it's consistent, mm-hmm. In a period of time, that your dog's going to make an association. And so just make it consistent and make your gesture signals different from one another, so it's, you know, not confusing.
Yeah, would they? Yeah, I guess they wouldn't even know their name.
Yeah.
Would they?
You can teach their name, that's really sort of a, if you're teaching their name, that's sort of a pay attention to me signal, you know, because if, you know.
Because they couldn't hear their name.
Yeah, if I say Pat, and
he sits up and begs.
And Pat looked up, you know, so it's really pay attention to me. So, you know, I could go, you know, pay attention to me, you know, and
right.
and that works too. So the dog's really name is, hey, I'm addressing you,
right.
and focus on me.
It's kind of funny that you say, yeah, the dog's name's Bob, but he doesn't know that.
Right, yeah, yeah. It's just sort of I'm addressing you and focused on me. So if you said, you know, I don't know, tomatoes or something, the dog looks up, then that's
your name.
That's your name, right? So anyway, so this has got a nice list. So come would be that. Stay would be kind of, you know,
like hold him back.
Holding him back a little bit. Sit would be, you know, that gesture. Down would be that. You know, go fetch. I mean, that's, you know, just from association.
And you're not getting physical. You know, like if they do something bad, you don't want to like.
You will, as much as anything, you know, you want to try to manage behaviors. You want to think about what can you do to block that dog from practicing behaviors that you don't want. You want to reward behaviors that the dog is giving you in those situations that you do want. If the dog isn't offering enough of that behavior in that situation that you do want, you want to teach them what you do want them to do in that situation. That applies to dogs, whether they're deaf or blind. Or
if you teach them enough good things, then it replaces the bad things.
Right. Gives them the rewarded alternative. You know? Yeah. Let's see here. Okay, and obviously dogs are going to be sensitive to your facial expression. You know, so that will be part of your communication. Mm-hmm. So when if you've got a deaf dog, make training, you know, game, just like it would be with any other dog. You know, it doesn't have to be like super serious for you and them.
And a lot of these things can evolve over time. If you see something works, if there's a certain thing you do that elicits a certain thing, just go with it.
Yeah.
The communication between you and your dog is very personal. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be whatever's on the list. Whatever works,
right.
It works.
Right, very much. And with training, train like 3-4 times a day for 3, 4, 5 minutes at a time. You know, where you're doing that in a focused way, and
like
make
what
it
I
a
do
game.
with my guys right before dinner, it's like they want something out of me. All right, you're going to do something for me.
Right, right. A little bit of, hey, we're working together. You know, we're having some fun, and that'll get you a long ways.
And they like to know their limits and expectations.
Sure.
Just like children.
Yeah, and just like most of us, you know, some degree of predictability is what we want in life, and how to succeed. So it's been a pleasure being with you. Thank you for suggesting this
I hope this has
topic.
been helpful and bring some opportunities for success to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So thanks for watching. We'll see you next month.
See you then.